Whitechapel's The Valley was a complete shift in style from anything they had released before it. This album pushed deathcore to a new level of structure and songwriting never before experienced in extreme music. But what's crazy is the emotional pain that was used to create this incredibly beautiful but incredibly brutal album. The story of frontman Phil Bozeman's childhood trauma proves that extreme metal can be way more than the sum of its parts. This album is like listening to a metal therapy session, and you may think you understand the story of this album, or you may know nothing about it at all. Either way, today I'm going to give you some real context on the backstory that created this album, and I'm going to share my own experience that gave me a unique advantage in absorbing the true depth and beauty that this album has to offer. And by the end of this video, you're going to have a whole new viewpoint on not only this album, but extreme metal in general. You'll never listen to it the same way again, and you'll understand just why extreme music is so beautiful, despite its brutal sound. By the way, my name is Kane Irvine, this is the heaviest show in the universe, and I am a formal metal elitist basement dweller and lifelong metalhead, so without further ado, let's get into it. Growing up in the Hardin Valley in Tennessee, Phil Bozeman's childhood was intensely traumatic. What's amazing though, is the way he and his bandmates have used that pain to transform something intensely traumatic into something strikingly beautiful. And they use the conduit of deathcore and extreme metal to do it. The opening track, When a Demon Defiles a Witch, is a terrifyingly brutal story that's self-evident by the title. But like every song on this album, the story comes from true events. And this story is absolutely nuts, you gotta hear. This is the first of two tracks that we are gonna talk about today that are taken directly as an excerpt from Phil Bozeman's mother's journal. The demon in the title is, in reality, a personal demon that she would often write about in said journal. Phil's mother suffered from dissociative identity disorder, having been diagnosed with as many as 34 different personalities, all of which would write in her journal, having different writing styles that would show which personality was writing at any given time. This personal demon, known as Mykar, would take the form of Phil's deceased biological father and sexually assault his mother in her bed. During the day, she knew that if she saw the demon by the window or by the fireplace or wherever, it would be near her bed at nighttime. These next words are taken directly from her crazy journal, and I'm going to show you where these lines appeared in the song. The incubus, it happens no matter where I sleep in this bed, in my place, in his place, it still happens. I thrash from side to side, yet it still happens. It hurts so bad, again and again. Burn the bed. Yes, burn everything. Liar. The level of vulnerability shown here is incredibly breathtaking. It's an incredibly brutal sound without requiring any special technicality or special production. It's a crushing riff, incredible vocal delivery, and a concise drum pattern that relies on the story being told to create brutality and heaviness. But get this is just the beginning. It gets even more intense the deeper we go. This next part is gonna put a pit in your stomach. You see, Phil Bozeman's stepfather was quite the piece of shit. According to Phil, he introduced his mother to crack cocaine, and mixing that with her plethora of mental health issues was bound to end up in disaster. It led to her eventual overdose, death, when Phil was just 17 years old. There are 3 tracks on this album that explore the abusive relationship his stepfather had with his household. This is where we get into the true brutality of this album. These are 3 of the heaviest songs you have ever or will ever hear. These tracks are Forgiveness is Weakness, Black Bear, and Brimstone. Black Bear is especially heavy. Wait until you hear the story behind it. It's genius. This track is about how Phil's stepfather was the apex predator of his entire family, preying on his mother and abusing him. But why Black Bear? The black bear is native to the Tennessee Valley where Phil grew up and is the ecosystem's apex predator of sorts. So, the black bear is a metaphor for his stepfather. This is also represented on the back of the album cover, showing the claws of a bear covered in shadow. And this is represented in the opening line of the track. With this body, he is God and I am nothing. Zeroing in on the feeling of being a powerless child next to an abusive apex predator. Brimstone is another incredibly brutal track depicting this relationship, and it's definitely one of the top tracks on the album. But we'll circle back to that one in just a second. In fact, there's a whole lot for us still to discover here, but it's gonna serve us a whole lot better to come at the rest of the album from a different perspective, because I've also experienced a lot of similar things as Phil has growing up, and it helped me look at not just this album, but the entirety of extreme music from a different perspective, and it's going to change the way you listen to this music. You see, pain, beauty, and music are forever intertwined. One of the reasons I gravitated towards metal in my childhood was because it gave me an outlet for the pain I was feeling but didn't have the ability to process in a mature, healthy way. I grew up in a home addled by sometimes abusive relationships, and my mother struggled with substance abuse that worsened the older I got. Emotional support in the form of love and reassurance was really hard to come by, and I mostly had to fend for myself. I had no real parental figures to guide me through life, as my father died when I was just 5 years old, and my mother just didn't have the tools available to raise a young boy. But metal was always there. It provided me an outlet for a lot of emotions I just didn't understand being so young, but unfortunately, it also made me an outcast in a lot of ways. And it's because of these painful emotions that I was able to understand the true beauty of extreme metal in ways that normie top 40 listeners just could never understand. I was able to listen to the Valley in a different perspective, one that can relate to the story that frontman Phil Bozeman was trying to tell. I was able to see each riff or measure not just as an awesome piece of music, but as a transmutation of emotion. This album isn't just brutal musically, it's brutal emotionally as well. And while my experiences are unique, we've all suffered in some way, shape, or form. We can only play with the hand we are dealt in life. So how can we use that hand to connect with this album and this music on a deeper level, just like I did? Now let's circle back to the music of this album, because I'm gonna show you a whole new perspective on extreme metal. Real quick, if you're loving this, give me a thumbs up and help me get those subs up and send this out to a lot more metalheads so they can enjoy this content as well. Thank you so much. Now this is where musical brutality and emotional pain become beautiful. As I mentioned before, the track Brimstone is based off the abusive relationship Phil had with his stepfather. In the song, Phil writes about a dream he had as a young boy where he murders his stepdad. How dare you sleep where a king once slept and dry the tears of where his queen has wept. In these lines, Phil refers to his stepfather sleeping in his dad's bed, who is incapable of providing the proper emotional support for his drug-addicted and mentally ill mother. Think about it this way. Your mother suffers from countless mental disabilities, and the one hero you had in your life in the form of your biological father has passed away. And now this abusive sociopathic monster has introduced your mother to the worst drugs imaginable. On top of everything, now she's addicted to crack cocaine. And now this sociopathic monster is physically and emotionally abusing you both. And you use that pain to create this. Imagine trying to describe this pain through some other form of music. I'm not saying it's impossible, but there's no way it would be nearly as visceral and hit you deep into your psyche the way deathcore does it. And that's what makes deathcore so great, but I did a separate video on that I'll link at the end of this one. But we aren't done looking at these tracks just yet, because it gets deeper, more visceral. And the track We Are One is truly the most bone-chilling on this album, because it's once again written directly from excerpts that Phil read in his mother's journal. And it's truly one of the wildest parts of this whole story. And this journal provides a lot of the contents of this album. Here's Phil describing the journal as he found it. So basically, she had this personal journal in which she had what is believed to be like 30 different personalities. Sometimes she would be herself, sometimes she'd be someone else. She would just write crazy stuff. She would talk about seeing demons, or she would talk about someone I've never heard of. Just really creepy, almost like movie-esque shit. Her handwriting would change as whoever she was writing as at the time, and there was one personality she had that was a little kid, and the writing was obviously really kid-like. Imagine that your mother's the one who wrote that stuff. Imagine how traumatizing that would be to read. And this is the way you release that traumatizing experience. This is so much more than the mindless noise any normal person would classify this as. It's some of the deepest material I have ever listened to. These emotions, this story could not be expressed in any other way musically. Only extreme metal can express this level of pain with this level of visceral satisfaction. To allow someone to express themselves in this way is truly healthy. And as someone who has experienced eerily similar things as Phil has, to release this type of art can help others heal, to help others feel understood. And that's what makes his pain and Whitechapel's art so beautiful. And using your own experiences, your own suffering, you can relate to this music as well. And not just the Valley, you can use any extreme metal to transmute your experiences into a healthy release. And that's what makes this brutal music so damn beautiful, man. A guttural release, brutal breakdown, or intense riff is so much more than the surface level sound it makes. It's a transmutation of our own emotion, be it positive or negative. And there's nothing else like it in music. And so the next time you hear a guttural release or a brutal breakdown that really gets you deep into your bone, just think about your own suffering. Think about the things that you've been through. Use it to enhance your experience of listening to extreme metal, because it's truly an awesome, beautiful release. Thank you so much for watching. This album is filled with tons more depth that I wasn't able to get to in this video. And thank you to Phil and Whitechapel for this amazing music. And if you like this video, check out this one about how I became a deathcore fan, or this one about how Trivium is just so damn awesome. Long live metal.